At the outset, my sincere thanks to Novartis for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. So next few minutes, I'll be talking on unmet needs, challenges, and recent developments in the treatment of CME, that is cystic macular edema. It's not moving.
Click, sir.
Okay. So if we look at the evolution of cataract surgery, it started in 1920, and then there is some sort of development of phacoemulsification, then envelope technique, and now laser frame cataract surgery. So cataract surgery is one of the most common procedures performed worldwide. It is also one of the oldest surgeries. It's not moving. Friend, it's not moving now, then again. Okay. So if we look at this this treatment landscape cataracts, that is the population of India is around 138 crores. And this population above 50 years is 26 crores. And prevalence of cataracts above 50 years is around 12.5 crores. And the cataract surgery which is performed every year is less than 1 crore, that is around 82 lakhs. So that now you can feel that this how much backlog is increasing every year. And now because of pandemic, this backlog is getting increased tremendously. So ocular symptoms after cataract surgery, just like that, just after surgery, you can see that around 6 to 95% patients are having pain. In first post-operative day, the pain is around 3 to 52% cases. And this pain incidence is in 2 to 26% of the cases in first post-operative week. And if you look at the incidence of cystoid macular edema, the overall incidence in Indian patients are that clinical CME is around 12% in uncomplicated cataract cases. And angiographic CME is found in 20% of the cases. Patients with diabetes without any pre-existing diabetic retinopathy, the incidence is around 47%. And if there is pre-existing diabetic retinopathy, the incidence increases to 55%. So now we are looking at the pathophysiology. Pathophysiology is just disruption of the normal blood-retinal barrier due to various factors, and that leads to leakage from the perifoveal retinal capillaries, accumulation of the fluid with intercellular spaces of the retina. There is development of CME, and all this leads to inflammation due to surgical manipulation is the major cause of CME. So surgical irritation causes irritation in the uvea, lens, or epithelial cells, all those things. All those things lead to increase of the prostaglandins in the aqueous humor, which can be controlled by NSAIDs. In patients who are having, that means systemic vasculopathy, or even old age patients because of inflammation or glaucoma, there is a breakdown of the blood aqueous barrier. All these things lead to this leakage of prostaglandins, cytokines, and inflammatory mediators, both in aqueous humor as well as in vitreous humor. All these lead to breakdown of the blood retinal barrier that leads to development of the CME. So CME is an important postoperative complication of cataract surgery that compromises the result of cataract surgery and can occur even after uneventful cataract surgery, but the incidence rapidly increases after completed cataract surgery. And CME is primary cause of reduced vision following both cataract and vitreoretinal surgery. Even it can be found even after corneal surgery like DSEK or DMEK also. It can be classified as angiographic and clinical CME. Angiographic CME means that it can be defined only by the presence of fluorescent leakage and detected only by fluorescent angiogram. And clinical CME we can detect by slit lamp microscopy using 90 diopter lenses or by indirect ophthalmoscopy, and it presents with decreased visions, and sometimes patients come very late. Only in that cases we can diagnose it. Otherwise, you can miss it also. Angiographic CME is more common than clinical CME. And it can be angiographic CME is classified in 4 levels. Level 1 is that edema is less than 360 degree peripheral area. If there is minimal leakage and minimal edema in the 360 degree peripheral area, it is called level 2. If there is moderate edema in the peripheral area, it is called level 3. And if there is severe peripheral edema, it is called level 4. And angiographic CME is mostly asymptomatic because that we usually get it in level 1 and level 2. It can be classified as per the onset of acute CME, that is within 4 months of surgery. If it is happening after 4 months, then it is called late onset. Chronic CME means that it is lasting more than 6 months, and recurrent CME means that if it appeared and then became all right, and then again it appeared, then it is called recurrent CME. So symptoms like that: decrease in visual acuity associated with retinal edema, loss of contrast sensitivity and color vision, metamorphosia, that is this type of distorted vision in which a grid of straight lines appear wavy and parts of the grid may appear blank. Clinically significant, that means foveal edema and retinal thickening more than 300 micrometers seen as a loss of foveal reflex, or that can be detected in slit lamp by direct or indirect ophthalmoscopy. Subclinical foveal edema, that is described as edema less than 300 micrometer, that can be diagnosed only by retinal imaging. Sometimes we can find this vitritis and optic nerve head swelling, that is by clinical examination we can find all these things. Signs and symptoms of clinically significant CME develop within 4 to 12 weeks after surgery and peak approximately 4 to 6 weeks after surgery. The risk factors like the systemic disease, pre-existing ocular comorbid conditions, and intraoperative complications. So we have to identify the risk factors for CME that is crucial for prevention and adequate treatment. So 2 systemic factors like diabetes mellitus that promotes the development of CME even in the absence of diabetic retinopathy, and 2 large database studies reported an increased rate of CME incidence after cataract extractions, that is between 1.73 and 3.05%, and the relative risk is around 1.80. Systemic hypertension is also increases the incidence of CME. Furthermore, it is the risk factor for retinal vein occlusion, which itself promotes the development of CME. Ocular comorbid conditions like retinal vein occlusion, glaucoma, vitreoretinal interface changes, vitreomacular tractions, epiretinal membrane can lead to CME, even uveitis also. So intraoperative complications like PC rupture, loss of vitreous, incarcerated vitreous in the wound, cortical remnants in the vitreous, trauma to the iris by either by Malvin ring or by CTR, or even by the tip of the phaco machines, phaco probe. So intraocular lens dislocations, premature ear capsulotomy, iris fixation, or anterior chamber lenses can lead to this development of CME. So diabetes is one of the most important risk factors for the development of CME, and India is the hub of this diabetes. So diabetes and CME in patients with diabetes post-cataract surgery, there is increased risk of post-surgical complications associated with poor visual outcomes. So it is important to monitor all those macular changes. Macular changes are more likely to occur after cataract surgery in patients with diabetes, especially in those who have pre-existing retinopathies compared with those without diabetes. So an increasing risk factor for development of postoperative CME in diabetes. And you should know that histological changes in retina, like addition of the leukocytes to the capillaries, loss of pericytes, and accumulation of the advanced glycation end products, that is AGE, which leads to activity of inflammatory mediators and death of the endothelial cells. That leads to facilitation of the impairment of the blood-retinal barrier, which leads to accumulation of the fluid and serum in the intracellular spaces, and that leads to development of postoperative CME. If you look at this graph, that the incidence of CME patients with diabetes mellitus, the incidence is 51%, and those without diabetes mellitus, it is 21%. So 2.4 times increased incidence of CME in Indian patients with diabetes. So diagnosis of CME, we have to diagnose it clinically also when it is quite obvious. Otherwise, we should take the help of this different gadgets: color fundus photography, fluorescent angiography, optical coherence tomography, that is OCT, functional testing like the electrophysiology, autofluorescence, and retinal thickness analyzer. So color fundus photography, intraretinal cysts seen in a honeycomb pattern within the foveal region of the macula in the Henle's layer. You can see this honeycomb pattern very minutely. You can see it. Early phase of fluorescent angiography, there is capillary dilatation in the perifoveal region, which can be appreciated here in these cases. And late phase may take 5 to 15 minutes of fluorescent angiography. Leakage into the cystoid spaces is distributed like a honeycomb pattern. So you can get that honeycomb appearance in the late phase itself. In OCT, it can be used to quantify the macular thickening. This is the normal foveal contour. And this is the patient who had these cystic spaces in the outer retinal layer. And this is the patient who had diffuse macular edema. So autofluorescence, light scatters from the structures in the eye without the use of fluorescent dye. Fundus autofluorescence arises from the lipofuscin in the retinal pigment epithelium. And this hyperautofluorescence in CME occurs as the result of this displacement of these macular pigments into the cystoid spaces. So that blue light with a wavelength of 488 nanomicron is used for this fundus autofluorescence imaging using Heidel retinal work in angiography or modified fundus camera. We can see all those autofluorescence things only. Now, this management of CME, we have to manage it, that is this prophylactically, that is the most important step. We have to prevent that by atraumatic surgery. We can go for plasma vitrectomy if there is vitreous loss. If we can go for medical therapy like NSAIDs, corticosteroids, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, and anti-VEGF injections. So prophylaxis to prevent. Topical steroids and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are the first-line agent for prevention of postoperative CME. Prophylaxis must be considered especially for patients with risk factors including diabetes, uveitis, venous retinal occlusion, and intraoperative complications such as posterior capsular rupture and vitreous loss. Patients with cardiovascular diseases, extracapsular cataract extractions, or cases where phacocan was not successful, and patients who are taking anti-glaucoma medications, in those cases, they can get this postoperative CME. So prophylactic treatment is useful and important approach to prevent CME in these patients. Nepafenac for prophylaxis now. So role of Nepafenac in prophylactic management of postoperative CME. And it shows that it can be better, there is better ocular penetration than systemic administration of the Nepafenac, and highly effective than indomethacin, achieves higher aqueous level and tolerably safe profile. So Nepafenac, it rapidly penetrates, permeates and penetrates into the cornea and sclera and is converted to Amphenac, that is NSAID. Both Nepafenac and Amphenac inhibit the prostaglandin H synthase, that is cyclooxygenase, an enzyme required for the prostaglandin production. And that blocks the inflammation, and that mediated this breakdown of the blood retinal barrier that contributes to the plasma extravasation and edema. And that way it reduces the postoperative CME development. So dosage and administration of this Nepafenac, that is for the reduction of in the risk of postoperative CME associated with cataract surgery in diabetic patients, 1 drop of Ielebro in the conjunctival sac of the affected eyes once a day, just 1 day prior surgery, continues to 60 days after surgery, as directed by the physicians, should be continued for at least 60 days. An addition of the drops should be given on the day of surgery, just 30 minutes to 120 minutes just before surgery. And for the prevention and treatment of pain and inflammation, 1 drop of Ielebro in the conjunctival sac of the affected eye once daily, beginning 1 day prior surgery and continued just for the first 2 weeks of the postoperative period. So for postoperative CME, it is for 2 months, and for postoperative pain, it is for 2 weeks only. Treatment can be extended into the first 3 weeks of if the patients have this postoperative pain. And additional drops should be administered 30 to 120 minutes prior to surgery in all the cases. So clinical evidence, all these that different studies, multi-center studies showed that 0.3% Nepafenac is no way inferior to 0.1% Nepafenac 3 times a day. So prophylactically, it should be beginning 1 day before surgery and continue till 60 days post-surgery in high-risk patients such as diabetes, and it reduces the risk of postoperative macular edema, improves best-corrected visual acuity, and no anticipated safety concerns. Current practical challenges in India is that awareness and diagnosis. Make all the ophthalmologists aware of the possibility of CME development, especially in large incision cataract surgery, patients who are having diabetes. And SICS I'm naming here, and diabetic patients post-traumatic surgery, like that who are surgery done by residents or trainees or fellows, and patients who are having glaucoma or uveitis or retinal pathologies. So all those cases, you should be feeling that the patients may develop CME, and so we should be very careful to address those issues. So you have to improve the diagnosis. What your mind does not know, the eye cannot see. That is this. If this clinically picked up when it is significantly present, in milder diseases may be missed. So we should go for fluorescein angiography, even though it is invasive procedure, but should be done if it is accessible. But at least we can go for OCT. That is this. It is a non-invasive technique and may be available in most of the centers. Though it is this availability in small centers is a questionable issue. So primary use for CME in post-cataract surgery, we can use it. Use in other ocular surgeries, because all those cases we feel that we cannot use this, that we cannot diagnose because of there is lack of FFA, lack of OCT. So off-label we can use this Nepafenac without the diagnosis of CME. So in that cases we can use it even for 2 months also. Used in other ocular surgeries that can cause CME, like that post-glaucoma surgeries, post-corneal transplant surgery, as I mentioned, DCEC or DMEC or PK, post-RD surgeries, post-keratoprosthesis CME. We can use this Ilebro. And use in ocular inflammation, episcleritis or scleritis, used to reduce the pain in status post, that means panretinal photocoagulations. So all those cases we can use it, even though unapproved, that is off-label use, we can use Nepafenac. So even though there is a lack of specific molecular data, it is quite helpful, like that efficacy of 0.3 versus 0.1 versus Nepafenac 3 day versus 1 day. Pain score or ocular inflammation in other conditions not studied, but ideal duration should be at least 2 months, but though it is not yet standardized. Show unmet need, that is the compliance or adherence. Reduce the number and dosage of the topicals post-cataract surgery. So reduce means that earlier days we used to go for Nepafenac 3 times, now it is Ilebro 1 time only. Combination with steroids, that is faster stepper and the step-taper of steroids, as mentioned by Dr. Shreyas, that we can use this Vigadexa, that combinations for 2 weeks, and then faster we can taper it, and then we can go for Ilebro for at least 2 months. Dropless cataract surgery, intravitreal sustained release in sets can also be a better idea. So thank you for